From Significant, this is Crack It in an Hour.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Crack It in an Hour. I'm Simon.
I'm Jesse.
Wait. I'm Jesse.
I'm Roman.
And with us today is lead strategist at Significant and friend of the pod, let's say.
Hopefully.
No. We're friends.
Biz Anderson.
Woo!
Welcome.
Hello. Okay.
Friend
So
of the
for those
pod,
of you
question mark.
who
Absolutely friend of
usually
the
probably listen, you know the deal. But for those of you who don't, one problem, 1 hour to crack once a week. And I have the problem. No one else has heard a single thing.
Oh, boy.
Roman, you got the timer out?
I have the timer.
Okay.
Let's go.
Here we go.
You haven't been giddy all day, which
Which worries
is,
me a little.
yeah,
Oh,
same.
really?
Normally
Like, what is
you're
this
like
gonna be
very
about?
giddy about your episode.
No, this is a good one. Okay, so I have something that it's a thing anyone can do. Well, there's certain
Are we doing a
constraints
guessing
to it.
game again?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, cool.
Where it is as predictive of higher life satisfaction as income or job status across all ages, genders, and cultures, but only 30% of Americans do this, down from 60% in the 1970s.
Down from. Okay.
Any ideas?
Can you say again the satisfaction thing?
It is predictive of higher life satisfaction. It's just as predictive as higher income or job status across ages, genders, and cultures. And about 30% of U.S. families do this, but this is down from 60% in the late 1970s. So it's gone down tremendously.
For my small brain, what it means is that when you do it, you're more satisfied.
You are
about
going to
your
live a
life?
happier,
Okay,
more
okay.
satisfied life,
Okay.
regardless of basically any other pretense of your existence.
Family dinners.
That's right.
Is that
It
what
is
it is?
eating together.
Oh my!
This is a perfect
God.
topic for me. I think about this a lot.
Do you?
Yeah, for my future non-existent
Yes.
family.
Okay.
Yeah.
Biz with the
There's
big
a conspiracy.
win right
here.
now.
How the hell did you guess?
Yes.
Did you guess
I was
this,
just talking about this last night.
Were you really?
Yeah.
What were
Yeah.
you talking about?
How when I someday have my, non-existent current family, that I will enforce family dinners every night at like 6:30
We picked
p.m.
the right topic.
Yeah.
Guys, I have
Okay.
hot takes on this
Wow.
too.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the hot
Fucking go.
takes. Here's some stats, okay?
This is so
Again,
good.
like I said, only 30% of US families eat dinner together nightly, and this is down from 60% in the late 1970s. So dramatically down. 46% of all US meals are eaten alone. More than half of family dinners in the US, more than half, now involve TV or phone use. And a typical US dinner lasts 20 to 30 minutes, which
Wow.
is less than half of what a dinner in France typically takes. Again, out in the world, US sit-down restaurant decline since basically pre-COVID is down still 20%. Same-store traffic for US full-service restaurants is down 26.2%. I mean, we don't have to get into how many big chains have closed, but that's a huge thing. But why it matters, I already said one, it is massively predictive of higher life satisfaction. There's a lot of stats around, especially teens and youth, around how they regularly have lower rates of depression, substance abuse, eating disorders, and suicidal thoughts. Adolescents report being happier and less stressed. This is all backed by, I could cite the statistics, and I promise they are all real citations. I'm not just making this stuff up.
Sure.
Yeah,
But it's
trust
also,
me.
as far as health goes, families who eat together consume more fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. Parents who eat with kids also have better diets and lower BMI.
So
that's-
back to the vegetable
that's how-
episode.
it's 'cause
That's what we
it's-
had to do. We had to promote
reinstate
family dinners.
But also maybe those families know that vegetables make you hot. Just saying.
So the problem is clear. The reasons why it's a problem and why it's, eating as a family or as a eating as a group is consistently proven to have all of these benefits. And yet it's way, 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 way down. So how do we bring it back?
Bring back family dinner. Bring back family dinner.
Biz, I want
love
to
it.
start with you because you've said you've been thinking about this a lot. What's the brain dump of where your head's been as far as this is concerned?
Oh God. I don't know. I mean, I think some of it's just like a fantasy, of like togetherness. But I do think that like things are just way too convenience driven now. And food has been a huge part of that, of like sort of optimizing and like a lot post COVID with food delivery in general. Like even the act of just eating out of a container, even if you're together, already signals a sense that you're not actually eating together.
Yeah.
You're not like splitting up a meal.
Yeah.
And I think that like it's just the entry into not spending time together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. My brain is literally spinning in circles on this because I have so many not solutions necessarily, but there's so many contributing factors to how we got to where we got to. To your point, convenience, I think, is one of them. I think that we have forgotten the value of slowing down. I mean, you gave the statistic about the average meal length lasting 20 to 30 minutes. And I think, I hate to be this basic, but it's true. Like as we have prioritized productivity as a culture and society, I think it's so interesting how eating started to become more of a fuel for what you needed to continue doing versus the thing itself.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the really, it's not just like, hey, be present. Hey, spend time with your family. You almost have to reframe the role of eating in people's lives, not as just a fuel thing for that productivity list, but for something bigger.
This is so interesting because like, I thought that was cultural. So can I ask you guys a question? Like, how was it like when you were growing up?
Still, when we go back to Canada and we're staying in like with Christy's family and stuff like that, they enforce we all eat together.
And when you
table.
grew up in your household,
And when I was at
between
the
10
house,
and 15,
I would generally speaking eat as a family.
What about you, Biz?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I mean, but I think also like when you break up the nuclear family, it also breaks some of that tradition too, right? Like I think like there's so many other factors that feed into this, divorce, like the rise of divorce, the rise of like lack of religion too. Like when you are sort of taking out these principles, and I just bring up religion because it's sort of like the ritual of like prayer before you eat, and you're taking out the ritual of it, And I think the moment you take out some of those pieces and you break the tradition, then what even is the purpose of breaking bread together?
Yeah, I mean, religion's an interesting thing too, because I think religion is such a driver of community in so many respects, from eating together all the way to obviously like getting in a building together with people you might not necessarily know super well, but finding a community among that. And then the other one too, like even like, again, like I know like I'm guilty of like, oh, I haven't seen the kids much this week and they want a treat. All right, I'll just go and we'll do drive-through. You know what I mean? Like just working too much almost exacerbates the problem itself, as opposed to stopping to pause to have more time. You kind of feel guilty and do something instead, which is weird.
Yeah, that's interesting.
How was it for you when you grew up?
We almost always sat down together at the table.
Because my theory was that it was a cultural thing. Because I've noticed this obviously in the US, it's very prominent everywhere you go. And even traveling here 20 years ago, I was in New York, staying at a family, and the kids show up, they're teenagers, they show up at about whatever, different times actually. Someone shows up at 5, someone shows up at 6, and everybody shows up, goes to the fridge, gets something off the fridge, fixes something, literally fixes, like fixing dinner is a saying in English that doesn't exist, I think, in at least in French. Like, I'm going to fix myself dinner, meaning that there's a problem in my head. Right? It's like, okay, you got to resolve that issue, and fixing all of their dinners, and then quick chat if someone's in the kitchen, maybe there's a 5-minute conversation, and that's it, right? And I thought that was a cultural thing. But what you guys have been saying in the last few minutes is there's also an evolution of society, right? It's like it used to be much more prominent in people's lives to have dinner, which I didn't know. So I'm learning this.
I mean, I will say, at least where I grew up, I think as I went to friends' houses, what my family did felt rare. Like I didn't experience like going to other, my parents just prioritize that. We always ate like 7 p.m. all around the table together. Especially as we played sports, like waited till that was done. It wasn't like a 5 p.m. dinner. And that was, I don't know. It's a good question how I guarantee in the US, there's probably geographical data around pockets of the country
Coastal
that prioritize and where we prioritize dinner and what that means. But it's also interesting because as you talk about, we're taking a very literal definition of family, of together time, family meal time, sit down, obviously phones away. I mean, we didn't have phones, but like
but today
sit down.
Today it's a
but I feel like, yes, but I feel like part of it's at least worth talking about. Part of what you're saying is the format itself may not necessarily matter, but it's the act of the time dedicated and spent towards actually engaging with one another. You could be standing at a counter together.
Well, that's why I brought in restaurants too.
Yeah.
Because it's not necessarily even like you have to all sit at the dining table, but like going out either as a family or frankly, like with friends and eating together and spending time on the act of eating. You know what I mean? Like, and the conversation and all those sort of things happens just across the board. That's all going down, which is crazy.
It's so interesting because like I feel like I do so much of it. Like that's where like majority of my money is spent, is eating out with friends.
Yeah.
So
Same.
I don't know, like I could see like on a huge level that shifting, but I wonder again to the geographic thing if it's sort of like if it's different where that time is spent and with who. Because like I feel like coastal people, 20s, 30s, like you're out eating around a table. And I've also seen a lot of restaurants in LA to shift to a model of what I perceive to be more European, where it's like you're splitting every entree that comes.
Yeah, family
it's no
style.
longer, it's no longer like you get your order, which is very American. It's like everything at the table and you all just eat from it.
I would take on family style.
Yeah.
That's not why I'm doing it.
I would take on family style
Family style restaurants in the US it's not a we want to be Europeans. In Europe, it doesn't exist. When you go to a restaurant, like, I mean, it exists in some restaurants, but the tradition is not family style. It's not a thing. It's just because it's much easier to operate in the kitchen. They're like, hey, whatever comes first in family style, right? We'll just put it on them, it's casual. It's just much easier to operate in the kitchen because if you have to follow the sequence of like appetizer, entree, dessert, like individually,
Marketing.
all at the same time, it's much more complicated for the staff.
Well, it was more romantic when it sounded European.
Obviously, some restaurants do it in Europe, but it's not the tradition. Like the tradition is generally speaking, everyone orders those things.
Fend for yourself.
And actually, people are now through probably the growth of family style at the restaurant more used to it than in Europe, more used to sharing things here than in
interesting.
than in Europe. It's, I mean,
so Europeans bad at sharing.
I'll speak for France more than in Northern Europe, maybe more than the southern part of Europe.
So
anyway.
I kind of want to keep talking about what are some of the causes of the decline. Like I think,
I mean, these aren't going to be big shockers, I think, but longer and less predictable work hours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? After school, like activity priority or over prioritization, especially in America where kids have a lot of stuff to do after it. It's gotten like convenience eating's just exploded. Like it's just like between
what
like,
they said.
Yeah, exactly. Digital distraction can't be understated, you know?
Totally.
And then the other weird one was, shrinking dining spaces in open concept living.
Oh, interesting.
Wow. I would not have mentioned that one.
I totally buy it.
In like in New York or something, I'd be like, yeah, okay, I get it. But anywhere else in the country,
I don't know.
Usually,
I know.
Even in a small apartment, there's a space for a table.
Yeah. So those are like, again, like I don't think maybe that last one's a bit of a surprise, but some of the other ones feel pretty obvious.
Do you feel like, because I mean, everything that we have talked about, I'm still going to go back for a second to the notion of our relationship with food as fuel for either exercise or productivity, or because I really do think, I mean, we've talked on so many episodes just about the meteoric rise of the wellness industry, self-care industry, nutrition being so wrapped up in that. I mean, my God, even like nutrition replacement, like, skipping breakfast, intermittent fasting, like there's so much in the overall wellness culture that has also scooped up food into it. And I wonder if part of it is we started to think about a family dinner as like a special occasion thing. It's something that you do on like a Saturday with your friends versus like hey, on a Tuesday, you can do this. And they're almost two separate conversations, because I still think that even just the general relationship with food is totally blended in our brains now with all the other sort of trends that are out there. But I like can't stop thinking about that, because I think it's had maybe more of an effect than we realize.
I have a take on that, but if anyone wants to go first, feel free.
Well, I just wanted to clarify something.
Go for it.
So are we solving for
thank you.
families
I'm usually the one
eating
to
around
This is a good question.
Or are we solving around just general communal eating?
I would like it to be
two different things.
I would like it to be, I think communal eating in general is important. And so that's where my head went to. Obviously, family is probably the biggest example of that. So that was kind of the one that came to mind. But if you have roommates sitting around a table and eating together, I don't know how feasible or real that is with having roommates or things like that. But I do still think there's value in it.
So communal eating, right? Well, sorry, keep going.
No, go for it.
And meal time, I think, is important.
Okay. So this could be office too.
This could be office,
That's
right?
where I was going.
Yes.
Which I already thought we need
100%.
to mark 12-1, no meetings, and eat together.
100%.
I know.
I've tried,
failed.
trust me, but someone around this table is not helping me a lot with that kind of enforcing the communal part. I'm not naming names.
It's important.
Is it me?
I don't know.
I could see you both being the issue in different ways.
But here's all the reasons you just mentioned about like there's the connection that's important.
Yeah.
But there's also in a work environment, which is a slight segue, there's the resetting of your brain.
Yeah.
I'm going to call it that.
Yeah.
When you go 8:30 to 6 p.m. in meetings, no interruption, or when you do that with even a 30-minute interruption, just to like have a chat and eat lunch, your afternoon is completely different. At least I'll speak for myself. The productivity goes up, shoots up, goes tremendously down if there's no break. If I'm like boom, 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 boom. It's a different benefit that you can rely on for communal eating in the workplace. And obviously you remember how when we talked about vacation?
Yeah.
And we were like, the way we should talk about vacation is you should
take
have
time off, get rich.
Leaders of the companies show up and be like, hey, you're mandated 2 weeks of vacation. I don't really care about you. It's just going to make all of us richer, more productive. It's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of like mandated, like don't go all the way to France where people, again, I'm going to have eye rolls over in France because things have changed. But some people still take like a long pause and walk to a restaurant, and not everyone. That's true. It's changed, but it's still culturally, it's there, right? If you take an hour-long lunch break, it's not seen as weird. Here, it kind of is, right? So I do think the lunch break is something that could also help everyone understand the value of communal eating.
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I just have two things to throw into the mix that aren't like...
You're smiling like they're grenades.
No, they're not at all. But I think off of that, one of the things is like, to me, it stems from an issue with leisure that we have in our culture.
Yes.
Where it's just even the act of rest and, to your point, slowing down without it being productive or efficient, even though we know that it actually, to Roman's point, will be more productive in the long term. Like, I think that's a huge issue. And then random fact from my hippie days in Boulder, but it's actually proven that if you sit down and you feel gratitude for your meal and you feel positive while you're eating, you will actually absorb more nutrients from it, no matter what it is.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
Which speaks to the happiness thing too, right? It's not just a social element. It's also like I guess it would be biological or
physiological
element too, where it's like you're actually absorbing more out of the food that you're eating. You're getting more out of it because you are happy and grounded in that moment.
That's amazing.
That's really cool.
So if you want to have a burger, make sure you have it with friends and have fun.
Yeah, enjoy it. Yeah.
I have no source on that.
No, you have sources. Trust me.
Yeah, it's a trust me source. Exactly. Yeah, I love it.
No, that's very cool. I love the burger thing's actually kind of interesting. I know you just said it, but like, it's an interesting way to even position benefits of foods that you feel like are guilty indulgences. It's like, well, actually, if you're going to enjoy this, you're actually going to get a lot of, like, you might have had a salad earlier that you tried to eat in 30 seconds. And let me tell you probably didn't gain anything from it, but the nutrients and the happiness you're going to get from this burger, as proven by Biz in all your deep sources.
It is real.
No, I believe it. I believe it. I mean, even I've heard it, this is proven by somebody. This is a very technical scientific episode, but obviously eating slower is better for your digestion, right? Yeah. That's like proven. But I've never, I'm like, no, I know I shouldn't eat fast. I'm supposed to like take my time. But when you connect it to what you're saying, I'm sort of like, oh, I see it a little bit differently. I'm like, you're not just like, you'll digest it better, but you'll actually see better benefits. You're going to be happier. You'll gain more out of it. I think it's just an interesting reframe I hadn't thought about. But Roman, what were you going to say? Like I interrupted you.
Absolutely nothing.
I'm sure you had something to say.
No. I'm good. I'm just thinking because we're touching different subjects that are all interesting. I think the fuel versus whatever else the versus is, but the seeing food as fuel versus a moment to enjoy, I think is massive culturally.
Oh, totally.
The lack of the what you just said, I see this as like negative perception of slowing down a little bit. Like that's also really big. And how do you reinstate that?
Yeah.
There's so many angles. There's one that you mentioned that we haven't cracked open at all, is like the after school priorities is really big for families.
Yeah.
Like when you get, it's so like timely. Literally last night, my wife and I had a chat and we're like, I don't know how many dinners we're going to have all of us around the table this year, because our daughter is starting high school and she's going to have like volleyball practice and volleyball tournaments. And then there's the arts and then there's the thing. And she might not be home by the time we're all having dinner. So it's a thing. Yeah. And that one's hard to crack.
I know.
So there's so many I think the digitalization is like, okay, I think we can find solutions like all of this, but there's some of them you're like, just institutional.
Yeah.
How do you change that?
I think, I mean, my thinking on this is we suck at time not accounted for some sort of purpose. Like I just think we're just so bad at it. It goes back to the play episode too. Yeah. Like this idea of like, go out and have some fun and like, don't think about it too much. Everyone's like, well, what's this for? Yeah. And like behind the curtain, I was actually there was another thing I was looking at. I thought it was a little too close to play because it was about something like, basically there's a statistic that the happiest nations in the world have a direct connection to having hobbies. And it's like, basically like if hobbies are another thing, that's just like, if it's different than play in that it doesn't necessarily have to be play, but it's like a skill with no intention of like profiting off it or anything like that, but just for the sheer learning of a skill, is like something that's declining like crazy in the States as well. And I think it's because like there needs to always constantly be a measure. Like I would,
the leisure problem that you talked about.
Totally. Yeah. And when you said wellness, I always think like wellness is sort of like whether or not it's true all the time. I always think it's like ... so that you can get back on your feet and kick ass again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've talked about this before, that like I think we talked about it maybe in the sleep episode, that like wellness when you're like trying to optimize the shit out of everything, it gets so complicated. Yeah. But then at the end of the day, you'd be like, look, spend some time with family, eat well, hang out, take a rest, get a little sleep, that's how I think about like I mean, I'm going to take the food as fuel like one click down, because think about right now in one of the biggest trends in food culture. I think Biz, you and I were just talking about it yesterday, is functional food.
Yeah. Totally.
That is like a massive industry. And even companies and brands that have already existed are sort of repositioning themselves or their benefit and their offering as like functional food.
Yeah.
When we see food as function, I understand we're all just like collecting all this data and information, trying to optimize our bodies, trying to feel better, trying to fix our guts, trying to do literally everything that we're being told to do. But you lose sight of the bigger picture, which is the problem in general with all of these, like all of the culture around things like sleep wellness, fitness, sleep wellness, fixing your gut, because we lose the plot. Mm-hmm. And I think, yes, food has always had function. It has always been about certain nutrients, but I think that is standing in the way of the reminder of the enjoyment of eating a meal together with somebody.
Just for that alone, that being enough too.
And the food can be functional that you're eating. Like it's like we've separated the two things.
Yeah. Do you have demographics on?
I don't. I didn't go too deep on that. I'm sorry.
Who within the U.S. has slowed down on family meals versus not? Because I think that's also an important factor as well. Because like I think if there are cultures that don't have a rich history in food itself, then there's nothing to sort of build off of.
Right.
That's exactly right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, and I think that's a huge part of it. And
that's a good point.
When we're talking about, I mean, I guess you would call it sort of like American cuisine, right? Like there's not this foundation, and it's always been sort of built off of convenience over the years and individual consumption. Yeah. But all of the cultures where there's like food as such a huge role in the definition of that culture, my assumption would be there's like less of this decline. That doesn't mean there's still a decline within the American system, right? But like, I think maybe less so.
I can't think of any culture outside of the US
that has such a lack of
I do think about Southern food culture though as being a bit of an anomaly. Southern food culture, like think about
back to community.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as you were talking, Biz, I had a picture in my head of like the crab boil on a crawfish boil all poured out on a table. I mean, literally the definition of communal eating. Yeah. It's like I'm dumping this on a table and everybody's just eating it. Yeah. So I think it's interesting. I mean, because we talked about it's not necessarily family dinner, it's communal. I do think that culture is there in the South.
That's actually an interesting potential solution.
Yeah.
Which is like
food dumps.
But working title. I don't like that one.
But experiential food, like how do you, I mean, the convenience of food delivery is not going to go down. No. It's just too embedded in what we do. But how do you turn that product into something that is inherently more communal?
There was a very sort of sweet, trend is an exaggerated term, but maybe like a video cycle on TikTok where a lot of parents were doing that with spaghetti in particular for their kids. Like just dumping a whole pot of spaghetti in the middle of a table and then dumping sauce on it and then giving the kids forks. And the kids are like, is this literally the best day ever? Like, are you kidding me? But taking that one step further is super interesting, or creating like takeout meals specifically designed for that type of eating experience and not just for kids, but for adults feels really interesting to me.
Who do you think we got to talk to? Like, cause I feel like it's the kind of thing that is, when it's in you, it's kind of in you for the rest of your life. So I think if you grow up doing it, then your chances of replicating it are going to be higher. Like most things, but this one is really like, it's a, you see what I mean? So, but it's again, like are you telling the parents to force their kids? Or are you telling the kids that we had that conversation many times on different subjects.
Who's the point of influence?
This one is a little different because the point of influence, when it comes about how a household functions, it's the parents.
It's the parents.
You see what I mean?
Well, I mean, we don't eat together every night, my family. Like, I know that.
Did you used to?
Not in any way I could look back on and go like, that was a pretty consistent time we were doing it.
Yeah, I guess you have worked in advertising, so.
Yeah,
no, but still, pretty good at, you know.
I try to go home, but a lot of times when I go
pretty good
home,
at being like, I got to go home. It's family dinner.
But like even then, a lot of the times it's like there's someone off doing their own thing. I couldn't say it's like all 5 of us around the room. You know what I mean? Usually, to be perfectly frank, it's usually me, my wife, and like one of the kids.
What about the weekends?
Like off and on again. Like I couldn't say like weekends. The one thing we're really good at is we have certain rituals with certain restaurants.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like we'll go to a restaurant together and stuff like that. But like we're not like, I'm not the poster child for this behavior at all.
I think, Biz, you brought this up with the religion point, but Simon, you just said it again. I think ritual is a pathway to, or one of the many paths to solving this. And I think it's unrealistic in the world that we live in to assume we're going to go from, hey, you don't have dinner, you don't have communal dinner, let's call it family dinner, whatever, at all. And now you're going to do it every night of the week, but creating like a Wednesday ritual.
Yeah.
Like I know that sounds really basic.
No, that's what Taco Tuesday is.
Yeah. That's actually a really good point. Like things that started around specific foods, I think you could create community around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think if you make it, it's what?
Religion.
Yeah. But my head goes there. It's not answering your question, Roman.
No, but it's interesting, the ritual thing.
Like I was thinking about that. I was like, oh, that's a good idea. And then I realized like, yeah, it's been done forever. When you were like, when you can marry, like, I'll give you like a simple, like, barrier to break down.
Yeah.
Which is, yes, it's great. We should all eat together, but generally speaking, a lot of these meals take some level of effort and time to create, right?
Yeah.
How do you do that? And then I was like, all right, like KFC sells buckets of chicken you can just put on your table. Like,
I
was like,
the family bucket.
You know, exactly.
They literally called
you know
it
what
that,
I mean?
I think.
And it's like comes, I guess, like, and in all their ads, it's people sitting together eating it all.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, scratch that off the table. But I do think that, like, again, like I know, for example, like if I'm showing up to cook, I'm going to be late and it's all going to get later than we would like to eat so often. And like my wife doesn't want to do it all the time. You know what I mean?
Well, but I think this is what happens a lot in like this type of topic, right? Like we think when there's been such a big evolution over time, I think as people, we fear that we have to do the opposite of what we're currently doing in order to fix a problem. And as humans, that's an immediate like
impossible.
And you will do it 1 week and then you'll never do it again. And then once you've failed at the task at creating a habit, we've talked about habit building before and like how you literally need to create triggers and rewards and you need to make it easy for people. And it's kind of the same thing because if we've gotten so far away from it, and you know, I'm going to use myself as I'm in a slightly different situation, but I'll just use myself as an example. You're like, we're having this conversation, and I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. I want to do this. All of a sudden, I'm thinking I've got to stop ordering out, and I need to start cooking every night. That's unrealistic in my life. I'm not going to happen. So I think the KFC bucket thing is interesting because they've done that before, but how do you help people realize that you don't have to change everything to create this habit that we're talking about. And it actually could be very simple and you can lower the pressure for people because we put so much pressure on ourselves in this sort of scenario because we're drawing on basically historical knowledge of what it meant to sit down as a family. And I think you have to reframe what sitting down as a family means in a way that respects kind of the modern world that we live in.
Yeah.
But I also, do you want to?
No, you go.
I keep going back to what you originally said around vacation and how you actually get people to take vacation and leisure, which is feeding into this model of productivity, right? Yep. And it actually being something that's like better for like your efficiency in this world. I think about all the morning routines that are happening, right? Of like someone sticking their face in an ice bowl. Like obviously we're craving routine. That's not something that immediately makes them more productive in the day, but what does it do? It slows them down and they have a moment to themselves to take care of themselves before they go to the work day. That's the same as the meal, right? But it's just posed as like a part of a ritual that will make you like a more optimized, productive human.
Yeah, right. So true.
So I feel like you'd have to position communal eating as something
Selfish
that's
benefit.
going to make you a more optimized, productive human in this economy.
Yeah, I hate it, but
like,
it's true.
Or within this society.
We always come back here, don't we?
It's sick, but I think it's the way that
right now, anyway, it's the way
this society has worked for, I mean, over 100 years, honestly, in America.
Yeah, because it's never going to work. To your point about the leisure problem, it's never going to work to say to somebody like, you just need to embrace like nothingness. They'll be like, hard pass. But if you're like, hey, embrace a 45-minute meal with friends and you will earn more, be happier, be more productive and more optimized, you're like, oh, okay.
Well, it also, I mean, you guys were talking about like, are you talking to the parent or the kid? But I also think it's like, well, who controls the parent? The workplace, right? So if it's coming from the workplace of, okay, actually, the company knows that this employee will be more productive the next morning if we send them home by 5:30 to have a meal with their family.
Yeah, that's
like
so
it comes
true.
from like if we're the whole thing is talking about productivity drives American culture, then you have to start with the corporations that employ people.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, it's very similar to the vacation thing that we're talking about.
Yeah.
I think because as you were talking about this, I was thinking, okay. You were talking about, and I agree, more optimized, productive humans. That's the angle. I wonder if you also need to speak to the parent, the same human, but as a parent. And I do think, and we talked about this a bunch of times, I do think the threat strategy or the fear strategy could work on this. Because, the stat, and I'm going to butcher it, but it's like, by the time your kids are 20, you're going to have spent like 80% of the time,
90% of your life,
90% of the
time spent together,
the time spent together, right?
Yeah.
Well, you can play off of that piece of data.
Totally.
Like, because literally
spend time now because that's it.
And meals are one of the best ways to spend time as a family and with your kids. Like literally, you could be like, you could look at the data and be like, every meal you miss is 0.1% of time you're going to ever spend with your kids.
I love
Childhood
this because
parental guilt.
This is, exactly. But no, but there is literally a behavioral psychology principle behind this. So I'm excited because I'm going to give you an example. It's one of my favorite examples. And unfortunately I cannot remember the brand, but it was a liquor brand, I think in Spain, but it was European, but I think it was Spain. And Christmas time, right? Lots of advertising around the holidays and everybody promotes togetherness. That is like one of the biggest concepts at Christmas or holidays, right? Like I say Christmas because really all the advertising feels like Christmas advertising as somebody who doesn't celebrate Christmas. But it's all like together it's love and togetherness and with friends and with family. And this liquor brand basically ran they found a way to quantify how in the likelihood of one of your friends dying in the next 5 years, like on average, everybody has, let's say 10 core friends in their 10 group. And based on statistics, like it's probably if you have 10 friends, one of those friends is going to die in the next 5 years. So they ran this whole campaign that was like, well, I mean, one of you is going to, kick the bucket in the next 5 years. So time's a ticking. You don't have that much time left to like share a drink together. And sales went through the roof because you are far more motivated by the loss potential of, and it's a different way to think about that. I love it. It's
loss
always
aversion.
It's one of my favorite examples of that.
So I love all of this. Can I go back to one thing that we were circling around? I don't think we nailed it totally. It's like the ritualization. How do you get, because I believe in it 100%, like the power of habits, like it's once you get into a ritual, then it's very, very, very easy to stick to it. How do we do that?
Yeah, I was just saying that too.
How do you get to, and to your point about don't go from 0 to 100 overnight, and what's the first step in getting to a ritual? Like, what is it? Like, let's speak tactics for a second. What is it? Is it? It's probably a weekend thing because it's probably easier to put in. I mean, I don't know.
Speaking from my life, I know it would be easier to go to a restaurant with my family and go like, who wants to eat something you don't get to eat very often or something like that.
On Sunday lunch.
You know what I mean? Like that's the easiest way to convince everyone to eat together, you know?
Yeah.
So tactical, but I also, I like happy hours coming to mind, but like back to the meals, right? Like marketing. But
it's cool.
Marketing.
Happy hour.
I mean, the convenience of it, right? Whether it's like going out or it's like delivery of food, like there being some incentive to ordering it at a specific time around meal times, I think makes sense. But it would have to be for the item that is more communal, right? It's not just like a promo for any delivery or any restaurant. It would have to be like for, like, you need 4 people or 5 people to sit down and eat it together.
God.
I have an idea.
Go ahead.
We're going to reclaim Happy Meal.
Yeah. Well, they actually just launched
we're going to make Happy Meal the happy hour of communal eating. Good luck with that.
Yeah. Okay. Good. That's good. There, maybe.
Well, you guys were excited.
No.
Right, you're definitely doing shots next time we're having a podcast.
Then, we'd be like, hell yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
No, there is oh man, now I forgot what,
because my idea was so good.
Because your idea was so good. I think this is, it's a little bit actually what you were saying, but there's something interesting to me about, this, again, very tactical, but since you brought it up, like the concept of BOGO, buy one, get one free, is very either individual or it's just you and one other person. And I'm not saying communal can't be 2 people. It certainly could be. We've been speaking more like it's 5, 10 people. Yeah. But I do think it's interesting as a way to sort of trigger or encourage the behavior, which is part of how you create a habit, is making it like, bring a friend, there's a way to reframe it, or there's a way to encourage a bigger thing where it's like, okay, get 2 burgers, but a friend gets a 3rd one free. Like, you don't get it. They do,
the friend meal.
Something that you can sort of encourage more of this group communal eating through the ways in which you structure and organize, deals.
Yeah.
I think it could be cool.
And how you package them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because there is something interesting, because basically all you're saying is that's like a buy one, get the second one half off, but you frame it in a way where it's like, no, you can't just eat 2 to yourself or bring one home. You need to have a second person. You have to give it to a friend.
Exactly. Yeah. Or, or you're doing it by let's say you create a dish that's only allowed to be ordered by 5 people. It's like, you create something that you partner with influencers, you make it go super viral. Everybody wants it, but you can only order it if there are 5 people at the table. You're not allowed to order it with less. Like, I think that gets interesting to me.
Has a restaurant ever thought about wholesale pricing? Because like when you think about most other things in life, if you buy them in mass quantities, you get a deal, right?
Yeah.
Like, has there ever been a restaurant that's like, if one person shows up, it's this. If it's 2, it's 5% less. 3, it's 10% less. 4, it's 15% less. 5, it's 20% less. And you literally have it where it's
deduct with the more.
If we have 6 people sitting at our table, each one of our meals is 30% off or something like that. I imagine margins and people in the food industry would probably explain pretty quickly why, but like there's got to be some, or just, cheaper drinks or something.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
There's got to be a way there where you could incentivize groups, right?
It's very cool.
Yeah, group incentives. That's really smart.
And incentivizing is how you create a habit.
Yeah. I'm surprised at some point you almost went there. I'm surprised Simon hasn't talked about gamification of this yet. But
we've rebranded it incentivization right now. But yes, no, that's a really interesting idea. I like the idea that rather than preaching to people, there's sort of 2 paths. One, you've talked about, Biz, which is, hey, if productivity drives American culture, embrace it, don't fight it. And then there's the other path where, like, rather than preaching the goodness of, communal eating, you create structures and experiences around people in the places in which they eat that encourages and almost like tricks them invites them into it. And I think that's very cool.
As an example, to double click into what you were saying, the way you could also do it, because like back to the family style thing was like, we're just going to market the thing. You could, so let me just take one step back. I was in France recently, like in the Alps, gorgeous, beautiful place. And
Brag.
Good for you.
Exactly. That was great. So we encourage vacation here at Significant Bits. We go to my dad's like, hey, we're going to go to a restaurant in a few days. And then the day before in the morning, he texts the whole family. We're a big group, all the kids, grandkids. And he's like, hey, everybody's got to order their meal the day before. And we're like, wait, what? He's like, yeah, can you take care of it? Can you collect the order for every person in the family for tomorrow? And I'm like, cool, give me the guy's text. And I start communicating with the guy who's the chef and the owner of the restaurant. And I wonder if there's a thing there too about to tie those two things together where you hide it behind like to make it operational. I mean, it's like, cool, well, if 5 of you order roast chicken, you're going to get 30% off because I can actually, and
that's interesting.
And it made it an experience and it made it super authentic.
Right.
Because I was directly in contact with the person who was going to buy the food.
That's so cool.
The following morning, they were going to go out in the market, wherever they go, they were going to buy the food themselves. So the experience was completely different. When you show up, you're feeling show up and you're in a community, literally.
Okay, I love that, and maybe this is. I think this could be tied to communal eating, but it would work so well here because have you heard of menu anxiety?
Yes, I've witnessed it.
Like so many people could not give you the stats, but so many people read the menu of a restaurant before they go to the restaurant to decide ahead of time what it is that they think they want to eat. Like it is a really, really common. It's not that depressing to me, honestly. It's a really common. I mean, having actual anxiety over it, sure. Like we don't like it shouldn't. It sucks if it feels that stressful. But the idea that you want you kind of want to take the work part out of it. So once you get there, you're not like, you're talking and the server comes over and you're like, I haven't decided yet. And you don't want to be the person and you actually haven't read it. So you really don't know. But I walk into a restaurant, pretty much I've always already pre-decided what I think I'm going to order if I knew ahead of time we were going there. So the reason I like what you said is that it like actually feeds into an existing behavior in the US, but it turns that behavior now into a benefit that feeds this communal eating opportunity.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I would do it. And then it's served like communal.
Yeah.
Family style.
Family style.
Back to family style.
That's cool. Okay.
So we have a few that are obviously, we talked about trying to change the behavior around it. We talked about, I think the toughest part, we talked about the easiest entry points. And I think we're kind of agreeing that the easiest entry point would probably be like going out to eat, because then you lower the barriers of obviously creating the food and stuff like that. There's budgetary, it's budgetarily prohibitive. So, it's not a perfect solution, but at least something like that sort of starts to create an easy entrance into group eating. And then we had a whole bunch of other things where we were talking about actually going specifically at the ritual itself, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, which we're still like circling around. Because I think the restaurant thing is awesome. Check. Probably not, to your point.
It's not a catch-all.
Yeah. The family thing is really the big one that we got to crack. Because that's how also you create cultural habit, I guess. Yeah. And that's when, as a child, then you're going to replicate it as an adult.
But that's where I keep coming back to. It needs to come from the company, from the corporation.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about all these things from the beginning about longer and more unpredictable work hours, right? We're talking about the sort of deconstruction of the nuclear family of you on average now have like 2 parents that are going to work, not someone who's been home and like thinking about a meal all day. I feel like it needs to come from corporations, companies. And the way to do that at scale would be like through some of the biggest employers in the world. Yeah. Right. Like, I think that's how you would have to start is like a Google or something or whatever. Another big company would have to sort of like put a policy in place of maybe it's a benefit thing. Maybe it's like you will always leave at 6 p.m. And also part of your benefit is you get 10% off from Instacart orders for groceries or something,
you
sort of
take
like
the food from the cafeteria. It's delicious.
Oh my God.
Is it a part of the benefit though, somehow, of your offer at that company?
Yeah, I went even a step before that because that's interesting, which is the first goal you have to do is educate these companies on the benefit to the company if their employees are eating with family or friends every night.
B2B campaign.
Yeah. And just show them kind of the strength and value of it and then get them to invest in trying to create that behavior change. Google's a funny one because I'm like, ooh, there's even more steps at a place like Google.
Totally. I'm trying.
They're pretty good at that, but
I'm trying to identify
the work-life balance.
Well, explain that.
It's I've just focus group of one. I've met more people who were able to leave work at 5 or 6 working at Google than in the financial services business, for example, or the advertising business. For that.
Yeah.
I know it's a pretty I don't even know what to call it. Maybe a small factor, but I'm really interested in the disappearance of the dining room in architecturally. You brought it up earlier, and it's interesting. I don't know if this is true, but I feel like at one point we were starting to see the reversal of open concept planning. Like obviously for the last decade, it was all the rage, but I feel like I've seen a bit of a reversal of that where people now are wanting to actually close off, have more specific rooms in the house. And I wonder if the dining room will be lost in that reversal or if it will make a comeback, or if you don't need the dining room to do this. But, and I don't,
that's where I was going to go.
I don't think you do.
Is it the dining room or the dining table? Because I don't think you need a room.
Sure.
Yeah,
you need a table.
It's true. Because if it's like architecturally, yes, for sure. The last 20 years, I've seen like a decrease in new builds of dining rooms. Because it's like you have an open kitchen and then you likely either have a bar or a table right there. So no dining room, there's a table, but I've rarely seen concepts without a table. So that's what, and we talked about it with Danny the other day. It's like the table is what makes the difference in we were talking about block party versus it's the same thing.
Yeah, but
it's the table that makes the thing communal and conversational and an actual moment.
I don't know for sure, but I'm going to challenge it because I feel like in at least most of the homes that I've gone into, mine included, there is a dining room table and it is used as literally the dumping pile of everything because it's just sort of like right there. It has no designation of its role to be like the thing that you eat at. I'm not saying having a designated dining room has to be the solution, but I think we've come so far into in the open concept world where people are either eating at their couches or eating at the countertops that this table has now become the mail pile, the coats, the whatever laundry's on it, that I don't know that just introducing tables back would solve that.
What I was challenging is whether there is a decrease in dining tables in homes.
Ooh, I should have looked that up. That's a really interesting question.
That's what I was challenging in the data. I was like a dining room. I get it, but people have tables generally speaking, even if it's a small one for 2-4 people.
I don't know though.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, because
when you live in a studio, probably not. But then there's no communal.
Mostly. Yeah, but that's what I was gonna say is that maybe if it's a expensive house that was designed for an open floor plan and there's still some element of a place to eat, but we're talking about also a mass scale of most new apartment buildings no longer have any space for you to put a table at.
And I think you were talking about New York and LA, but outside of that, even apartment.
No. But I think there's it's also a life stage thing. I know my brother just had a daughter a little under a year ago.
Oh yeah.
And when they rechanged their space to be more functional for having no space for that. And then suddenly you're like, all right, let's just put away the dining room table. You know what I mean? It's and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're probably eating standing up at the kitchen island sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's interesting.
Which is a far concept for me because culturally,
totally
you set it up. It was always family day. Pretty much every day.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing I want to bring is we've talked about different, we've talked about productivity. We've talked about incentives around dining out.
Yeah.
What about sort of the romanticizing it, making it aesthetic, making it something that is more appealing.
Loves that.
This is interesting.
Yeah. Of how do you sort of make it like sexy, you know, the idea of it. I think there's a little bit of it happening, but back to that ritual piece, again, it not being a special occasion. Like I think online it's sort of like for your birthday or for this event or but like, how do you make the ritual of an everyday meal seem more appealing through just the like romanticizing it or through aesthetics?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I've always loved the trend. That's like the little things that we do to romanticize our lives. Like, you know, keep the beer glass in the fridge so that when you like take it out and pour a beer in it, you're like, ooh, like the glass is frosty and like,
ooh la la.
Ooh la la.
The shower beer. Oh, you guys don't do that? All right. Cool.
I do that. I know exactly what you mean.
I mean, shower beer is great. But it's interesting to think about how all those little things can, like just lighting a candle. It's like the little, you know, I wonder if you could make it feel like all those small things you do could add up to, they're all like circling around mealtime, which I think is interesting.
I mean, there's an aesthetics thing to that, right? I'm guessing to your point of romanticization and to link it to the dinner table conversation. There's nothing more exciting to me. My favorite thing in American house architecture is nooks, like kitchen nooks, which I've never seen anywhere else. And it's so conducive to a conversation, and an actual when you see a nook in a house, you're like, oh, I want to have a meal there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like.
This is actually, maybe this is just me, but now that you've brought up the aesthetic thing, I'm realizing that I think the dining area, let's call it, is the hardest to decorate of any room in the house. And so it's often like the last one, or it's the one that's kind of forgotten, or you're like, don't really know what to do. You're like, bedroom, I have a vision. I want something that's like living in a cloud, like whatever. Bathroom, okay, this. Like living room, you kind of have a vision. Kitchen always has a vision. The dining room is like and when it doesn't have a feel like you want to be in the space, then like you don't utilize the space. And so I wonder if one of the ways it feels like such a backdoor, but it could be a really influential one, is actually focusing either like content, DIY, designer, architecture, whatever, around like, let's fix the dining room or let's fix the dining space.
Well, that's interesting. Dining rooms have been kind of a joyless place for a long time, right? Like they were always like, I mean, growing up, like I know I had the friends where it was like, you can't go in the dining room. Like, you know what I mean? Like
dining rooms
there's like a formality to them sort of thing. Totally. And you're like, well, then what's the point of that? And like, it's like, we talked about this with vegetables too, right? Where it was like, did we just all grow up at a moment where vegetables were having a really low point, and that's what caused the vegetable thing,
unflavored frozen.
And like, I'm just, part of me is just like, did we grow up at a time when like dining rooms were just like not great spots, and we haven't really recovered from it yet? You know what I mean?
Reclaim the dining room aesthetic. We need to design.
But I also feel like it's leaning into the aspiration of it, right?
Totally.
And this is totally on the fluffiest side of like building sort of the cultural aspiration of eating together as a ritual. But I'm thinking about all of the luxury brands right now where they have nothing to do with food, and their marketing is all centered around just beautiful food.
Interesting.
That is like such a thing right now, because beautiful food is an aspiration in a time where like eggs are so expensive. You have skincare brands literally just posting beautiful photos of like berries and eggs because that's unattainable for most people. And I think what we're talking about too is like making a ritual around being able to eat every day as a family is pretty unattainable for a lot of people right now because of these larger forces. Totally. And this isn't an immediate like functional solve, but like building aspiration around communal eating, not special occasions, but like every day.
Yes.
There's something interesting about that, you know?
I love that.
Yeah, I agree.
All right.
This is awesome.
I'm hungry. I'll tell you that.
Well, how much time do we got?
We have like, you can start wrapping up if you want.
Should I start wrapping up?
Seconds. I gotta eat.
I think I wrote down the main things we talked about, but keep me honest here.
But not together.
No, not with me.
I'm leaving this table, which would be perfect for dining, to go.
I gotta pull up my door.
Exactly. I'm going to go through a drive-through. Okay, so the first one we talked about was make it easier to do. You know what I mean? Like, is it just as simple as that? You incentivize going out. Maybe you could even try to find a way to incentivize group dining where it's like bigger discounts the more people you bring, something like that. Biz, you mentioned the needs to start with the employers, right? And to do that, we probably need to show employers why it's going to be beneficial to them. It's going to help with productivity. It's going to help with all sorts of added benefits of working that are unseen and seen. Then we started getting into this interesting conversation around the eating out aesthetic and this idea of dining in and trying to build an aesthetic around it, which led to a conversation around the dining room aesthetic, which led to a conversation around trying to make everyday communal eating more aspirational. And I think there's something interesting in that entire world right now of sort of like aspirational aesthetics and something between eating and the dining room and group eating and all this sort of thing. There's a lot of interesting places of going in on the geography, going in on the ritual, going in on the people that feel really warm and interesting. Did I miss anything else?
No, I don't think so. I think you got a good recap, right?
Was there something that you
probably
in between? Yeah.
Well, I think maybe I think we got into some interesting stuff around restaurant behavior. I don't know if you captured we don't have to recap everything, but when you were talking about wholesale pricing and we were talking about KFC buckets and we were talking about reframing BOGO and I do still go back to some of the conversation around functional food and having to reframe that. I mean, I think there's a lot of, I'll share my thoughts for when you ask me whether we cracked it or not.
Well, I'll start with Roman this time. Roman, did we crack it?
I just had another idea. Okay, I'll keep it for next time. Does the restaurant equivalent of a run club exist?
Dinner club?
Supper club? You show up as an individual and you have conversations.
Well, there's a lot more of them happening right now.
Okay.
I think for people like younger, 20s, 30s.
Sorry,
the person I met with today said we should have a supper club sometime. And I was like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Did we crack it? It's tough to ask me. You know how I am. I never say yes. I never answer yes to that question. I think we did. I think we cracked it.
Wow.
That's
whatever. It's just to give you a bit of
I didn't see that coming.
Bit of optimism.
Okay, sure.
Jesse.
I think I'm excited by a lot of the tactics we talked about. I don't think that we cracked a clear center of gravity in terms of either how do they all kind of work together. What's interesting about this one is there are so many things at play, and I think I would want to try to figure out what's the thing that's having the biggest influence right now, that if you solve that, everything else starts to chip away. And I don't know that we got there, but I like all the tactics that we got to.
Biz?
Interesting leads. It's not closed, the case.
Case not closed.
It's not closed. I mean, with that, I agree. Like, there needs to be a center of gravity. And I think that we'd have to look into audience. I think that
that was the part I was about to talk about.
The problem,
way to steal my idea.
The core problem is, that's what I'm here for. The core problem could be more functional versus more emotional for different people of different sort of demographics, backgrounds, things like that. And I think that you'd have to do a pretty big scan in order to maybe find that center of gravity before actually solving problems for each group.
Totally.
Going to that audience thing too, like, I don't even think I know how many people we would teach this as a whole new ritual versus help people relearn the ritual too, which is a whole other little thing that would completely inform everything. But we got a lot of interesting starts and we got a lot of interesting ways and things to consider and stuff like that.
Good topic.
And I think we're done.
Yeah.
So we are. Biz, thanks for joining.
Thanks, Biz.
Peace out.
And thank you
Later.
all for listening. We'll see you next time on another Crack It an Hour. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Crack It in an Hour. If you like the show, please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. If you have questions, thoughts, or feedback, shoot us an email at hello@crackitpodcast.com or on Instagram @crackitpodcast. Music done by Michael Anastasi, cover art shot by Mick Mint, and all things audio and video taken care of by Nathan Nash. See you next time.